All right, and welcome into episode number 21 of the Vegas Squares podcast. We are here fresh off a Golden Knights victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I have to say, the strangest thing about tonight's game is when the fans of the opposing team in the stands are saying, "Let's go Jacket, let's go Jacket." I know they're saying Jackets, but it's a weird thing when the Columbus Blue Jacket fans are saying Jacket. I don't know. I thought it was weird. Desiree did not, but it sounded kind of childish and juvenile, and that's where my brain goes. So, with me is Spike and Anthony in the studio. Anthony, fresh, he cracked his Twitter cherry and joined social media.
Yeah.
So you can follow him at TokenTony89. Don't know if that's a smoking reference or the fact that he's the whitest black guy I know.
Could be a reference.
Or the blackest white guy. I don't know. He's got a Rockaware t-shirt and an Elvis haircut, so I don't know. Take it what you will. So what's up, Token Tony?
Not much.
So what are you going to be doing with your Twitter?
Mainly posting what I like on sports betting and taking some to the window and lighting them on fire too. So
there you go. And Spike's on the other mic, Mike 2. Spike, I know you were at the game, and how you been this last week or so since I've been in Florida? You did a really good job hosting the podcast.
Well, appreciate hearing that. I had some experience with podcasting with a couple of poker podcasts that I did that have kind of died on the vine at this point. But I am glad to be a part of Vegas Squares now, especially now that it's old enough to drink.
Yeah, it's exciting. So what should we do? We're in Vegas. We're 21 now, 21 episodes in. So
21 shots?
I think it's time.
21. That seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah.
21 shot. Actually, during the Knights game, I have a buddy that's a Columbus fan, and he said, "I just thought of a new drinking game. I'm going to take a shot every time the Knights get an odd man rush." I said, "There are slower ways to kill yourself."
Speaking of 21 shots and everything, we came straight here to record the podcast from the Columbus Blue Jackets Vegas Golden Knights game at T-Mobile, and you guys are all familiar with this hashtag Vegas flu, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a couple Columbus guys basically said that the Vegas flu is bullshit. So a follow-up question to them is, well, then what's your excuse for getting curb stomped tonight?
I played like shit. I heard that Columbus came out here 3 days prior, spent all 3 days out here. Today's morning practice wasn't mandatory, and
probably no one showed up to it.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. My buddy, the same one that's the fan, was saying that Columbus, for as good as they are, never plays a full 60-minute game. They'll take a period off or half a period off. Their power play, recently especially, is pretty atrocious. Their road record, I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like they're like 3-12 in their last 15 road games. They just don't seem to carry themselves well when they're traveling. Somebody, the crack research staff wants to look that up for me. But, it's just, they seem to be a weird team because they play lights out at home. And especially with goalie Bob back there, doesn't seem like they should be an easy out like they were tonight.
Yeah, on the season they are 10, 11, and 3. I don't know about your last 15, but that's basically, for all intents and purposes, 10 and 14 on the road, which is not good, especially if you want to contend for the playoffs. And right now they would be the, wild card 2, however you call that?
Correct. Wild card 1 they would be.
Oh, you're right. Wild card 1. Pittsburgh will be wild card 2. That's right. So, but they're neck and neck with Pittsburgh as far as points go. So, but the point being is, yeah, the two teams, I tell you what, who played so well last year, who were middling through the regular season, is Columbus and Pittsburgh. They've looked rather pedestrian. Both of them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is going on with Pittsburgh, by the way? I know that we've got bigger fish to fry in this podcast.
Yeah, we'll fry the football later. Let's stay on hockey. And yeah, I don't know. Sid and Malkin have just not been, I don't want to say gelling. They've been playing together for the better part of a decade. I mean, it's just they're on different lines. Those lines. Connor Sheary got hurt. He's been, kind of in and out of the lineup. I don't know what to make of the team. I mean, it's pretty much the same team. Murray's been terrible this year overall.
And they have no backup because they...
Tristan Jarry's been decent. Tristan Jarry on most nights. Well, they had Niemi for a while.
Yeah.
Niemi was a joke.
He was terrible, but they had somebody else in net today. I'm trying to remember the guy. Like
DeSmith.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. DeSmith is a guy they've been calling up and down from the AHL. I don't know. They've just been a weird team. I mean, I took them on the over tonight, and that flopped mightily.
Yeah,
3-1. Freaking Pittsburgh has an open net and makes no attempt at it. So I was like, come on, give me the push.
But I mean, they've got a -5 goal differential for the season. That's very unlike Pittsburgh Penguins hockey.
Yeah, usually you're looking at plus double digits around this time of year. If you're Pittsburgh. Granted, if you probably blowouts both sides.
The question is now, at what point? Because I think the deadline for trading is 1 month away. I think it's February 20th.
That sounds right.
Are they buyers or sellers at this period? I mean, you just won the last 2 cups, so I mean, obviously your fan base has expectations, but at the same time, can your fan base kind of, set their pride aside and say, okay, it's time to. We had a good run. It's time to retool. Because, I mean, they're good. When they're on, they're on. I mean, they've got, Schultz in the back. They've got Kessel who can still score the puck. I mean, it's just a weird team. They're just, I don't know if it's an expectations thing or if it's just the rest of the league basically set themselves up to beat the gold standard Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're succeeding. Yes.
Absolutely they are.
So anyways, and they're not out of it. So my question, again, are they buyers or sellers at the deadline at this point?
I mean, they have to be buyers, right? They have to feel that they're in it. And once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. All you have to do is get in. They feel like they have the experience. They have the key elements around there in Crosby, in Malkin, in Kessel. So, adding a piece at the deadline seems to make the most sense. Maybe they were thinking about bringing back James Neal when the season started because everybody expected the Knights to sell at least him at the deadline. I don't expect that to happen now. But, I mean, that's certainly a possibility. They figured they'd be able to get a forward like him at the deadline, and now all of a sudden that's blowing up in their face.
But can this team, as constructed in its current form, beat the Lightning 4 times in 7 games? They're still good enough on paper, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's a crazy scenario because you look at it, the way they're both trending, you'd say absolutely no way. But on paper, if this team plays the potential, they still have the tools. They still have the exact same team in place, minus Fleury. And, I mean, let's go. He was a backup.
Right, and backup goalie doesn't matter in the playoffs. It matters in the regular season. Doesn't matter in the postseason. I shouldn't say doesn't matter.
I mean, Murray got hurt, and Fleury played a key role in the first 2 rounds. But,
right.
Yeah, I mean, if Murray's not hurt, you don't even see Fleury. So.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I as constructed right now, if they do nothing by the trade deadline, then no, they can't beat. They wouldn't be able to get past Tampa Bay or Boston. Anybody else?
God, the Atlantic's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually
even like Toronto. I mean, I know they have 57 points, but even they're just an average team.
Yeah. No, it's the East is weaker than I think a lot of people expected.
I think, honestly,
New Jersey's the surprise out of the whole thing, obviously, coming from the basement last year to actually competing now, but they're still, Vegas would destroy them.
They're very top-heavy. They're like, they got, the Lightning, the Bruins, the Capitals, but everybody else is just middling. I mean, I say the same thing for the Pacific. I mean, the Central is the best division in hockey at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
From top to almost the bottom.
Every team in the Central has a positive goal differential.
Yeah, and every team in the Central has a puncher's chance to make the playoffs at this point. I can't say the same about any other division. I mean, Carolina, yes, but I mean, let's be real, they're not very good. But I mean, Chicago on any day could flip this switch. I know we probably err on the side of them not being able to, but Chicago's still got all the same. Chicago's like Pittsburgh. You're starting to see the end of that dynasty, but they still have, minus Corey Crawford, they still have the exact pieces in place with, Anisimov, Kane, Taves. They just got Duclair, who's been pretty good for them in the 3 or 4 games he's played. The Central top to bottom is, the best division of the 4. But, Winnipeg, Nashville, St. Louis, Dallas, I mean, Colorado, break those guys up. I think they finally just lost today.
Yeah.
What, they went 10 in a row?
Yeah, something like that. And they lost to the Canadiens, so I was like, I wish they could have won one more in a row.
Yeah. Speaking of the Canadiens, talk about a team that's getting blown up. Could we see like a Pacioretty become available? You know, could you really see Bergevin trading the captain?
Oh.
I can see if they get a decent value for him, that might be on the table. But
Well, I don't know if he's necessarily, worth a lot of like Erik Karlsson type trade. But you're talking about trading. I mean, when you talk about trading a captain, you're talking about that's the white flag.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the white flag at that point when you're trading a captain. So, I mean, you're looking at Bergevin's got to do something because Claude Julien's come over and things have gone incredibly south, incredibly fast. I mean, Carey Price is doing everything he can, and it's still not good enough. So, I mean, you brought over Drouin for Sergachev. That was supposed to be, a trade that benefited Montreal. Hasn't done that so far. You got rid of Radulov, which many people didn't want to happen. He's now thriving in Dallas. I don't know. I mean, if you start falling down into... we talk about how bad Buffalo is and how bad Ottawa is. Ottawa's only 7 points behind Montreal. So, I mean, we're talking about bad teams here. If Bergevin waves the white flag, I mean, I could see them selling Pacioretty at the deadline. They'll probably try to keep Drouin and build around him. I mean, can anybody... They're not trading Price, but can anybody take that contract on? Do they need $10 million a year for a goalie?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
absurd.
If you know that you're going to get a Vezina candidate every year, that's fine, but...
At what price?
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily what you get in Carey Price. Might be. I mean...
When he's healthy.
When he's healthy. Do you really want to risk that much money on, him maybe staying healthy?
Did you think Fleury would be a Vezina candidate this year? I still think he might be.
Not only that, I've heard people talking Malcolm Subban for the Rookie of the Year.
Is he classified as a rookie?
Yeah,
he's not going to win that.
He only had 2 starts in the NHL before coming to Vegas.
That's true, fair enough. But he's not winning it over Besser or Barzal.
No, of course not. But I mean, just to be named would be interesting.
Cool. Yeah,
I mean, getting back to Montreal, they don't strike me as the team that if they sell, they would just sell for the sake of getting pieces and trying to rebuild. Like they would be like they definitely wouldn't trade within the division. Might not trade within the Eastern Conference, so I don't think you would see any of their pieces going to a team like Pittsburgh that might be willing to buy.
Right.
But they could come west. Like if the Kings come calling, or if the Ducks, if somebody like that thinks that they are only one piece away.
I think Nashville might be a candidate.
There you go. Yeah.
What is Nashville missing, though? I mean, they're strong defensively. They lack probably frontline scoring. I mean, they have Forsberg and, guys like that. But, I mean, their scoring comes from, the bulk of their scoring comes from 2 or 3 guys at the forwards. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Ellis is coming back. You're right. What's his name? Yeah, Pacioretty going to that team. I mean, I don't know if they necessarily need a center. I see what you're saying as far as waving the white flag and blowing it up. I mean, you're saying that basically Montreal's not a type of team. Montreal's like the Yankees. You don't blow it up. You retool and reload. And if it doesn't work, you just kind of keep throwing money at it.
Right. You never go into full rebuild mode like a Philadelphia 76ers.
You don't trust a process. There is no process at that point. So, let's look at some other guys who could be, buyers or sellers who would kind of sit in that, that no man's land, like the Rangers. I mean, they're a couple points out. Are they going to be looking to either unload a Rick Nash or potentially add somebody in this point? Like, there's talk out there that the Sedins might move together to help a contender.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that being very slightly realistic.
Well, I mean, they're not going separate. So
yeah. If
you're taking them both on, it's at what cost, I mean, you've got so many teams in that Metropolitan. You got Philly, Columbus, Pittsburgh, New York. All those 5 teams are basically vying for, I mean, you throw New Jersey in there too. I mean, they're tied with Philadelphia points-wise. you can throw that whole Metropolitan Division with minus the Capitals, who the Capitals will be in. We know that for a fact. It's just the way they play their schedule, the way
the rest of the division's wide open. Yeah,
the rest of the division in that spot is wide open. So
I mean, even Carolina's, and I wouldn't even consider that talk.
You're right. They're not realistically out. They're still with 50 points. I mean, they're still 3 wins behind New Jersey at that point. So, I mean, all of them realistically got to think that they're buyers. But, everybody's been kind of saying that Rick Nash, he'll be a free agent. If you don't think you can compete, you got to get rid of him. You got to get something.
Right. So the question is, do the Rangers think, these are the last couple of years with Lundqvist, do we want to make a big push for it?
Yeah.
Or do they think, Alain Vigneault is being shown the door? Do we blow it up, or not blow it up even, do we get more pieces that we can play with and then let the new coach come in here, do his thing, and maybe make their mark on the team rather than, try to just use what Vigneault has brought in?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about you're talking about 2 separate entities there with Lundqvist last year's and Vigneault's probably last month's. So I still think you make the big push depending on what you can, what you can get and what you have to give up. But I mean, we're talking there's a couple guys out there that they could realistically make a move for. I would see New York making a move for like Evander Kane. You're talking about a rental player. Maybe giving up a pick, a protected pick with, a
prospect or something.
Maybe a young defenseman. I know they like Jimmy Vesey. He's not, but so does everybody else. So I don't think he's going anywhere. Mika Koivu has been another name. Brian Little. They probably won't be moving at this point. Cam Atkinson's a name that's been floating out there. Low cap hit. He's only $3.5 million. He's signed through, I think, next year. So he's kind of in the Pacioretty type mold. So he could be a name that could be out there. I like the Evander Kane. I think if you can get him for the right price and not have to give up too much, I kind of like the fact that Vegas, I'd like to see Vegas take a shot at him. I know he doesn't make any sense, but he's a rental, but I'd like to see Vegas. If Vegas is all in, I'd like to see them, if they could get him for cheap, take a shot at Evander Kane.
It would have to be damn cheap.
Well, McPhee's not stupid.
Right.
But let's talk about them. Let's talk about the Knights because they're the confusing one. Because McPhee probably had this plan in place to ship off Perron, Neal. I mean, who else? Probably Bellemare at this point. Probably most of these guys you didn't think would be there. So now, the fact that they're in first place or, teetering back and forth with Tampa on best record in the league, there's a lot of guys that can be helpful. I mean, I don't know about you, Spike, at the game. I saw realistically a third and fourth line that's starting to become very unproductive offensively.
Yeah, and actually that was one of the things I was looking at to talk about tonight is not the fourth line. I mean, the fourth line, the fourth line you don't expect to get anything out of. They're grinders. They're just going to eat up minutes. They're going to go out there and bust some heads when they need to. That's fine. The third line is
the Eakin Tuck line with
Leipzig.
It's almost like a fourth line at this point.
Yeah, and it's just such a weird combination because Tuck is almost like a power forward, a big presence that can hit. He's like oh my God, I can't think of his name. Milan Lucic. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
He strikes me as that type of player with that type of upside where he can score a lot, but he's also a big guy and he's going to go out there and defend. Cody Eakin's defensive-minded forward. Like, he's not the type that's going to put up 50 points a year or, 60, 70 points a year. He's more concerned about, Selkies than Hearts. And then Leipzig, I mean, huge upside, but the kid can't stay on his feet. I love him to death. I actually, the first Knights t-shirt I bought with a player name on it was Leipzig, because I think he is an unbelievable future with this team. But, I mean, he's got to find the back of the net. He's got to find his feet. Like, he can't just keep doing this mariachi dancing where he gets flattened every game. He's probably going to add about 20 pounds of muscle before he's really going to be a presence in this league. It's just, it's a weird, mismatched line.
And the thing is I think Gallant and McPhee thought Tuck would be the star of that line because basically you had a guy who was budding and up and coming, and now we're starting to see a little bit as to why Minnesota probably gave up on him. He just kind of seems like for where he was drafted and what he's supposed to do, he's not that player.
Right.
So, where he was supposed to take over, eventually being the captain, eventually being the 30-goal scorer, I think we can all agree that at this stage in his career is not going to happen. So, what do you do with those lines at this point? Because your top two lines, you're talking Carlson, Smith, and Marchessault, that line's set. We're not touching that line.
No.
You got Perron, Neal, and Haula. Could you trade Perron? Could you trade Neal to get back two guys that can help out your second and third line?
I think if they get something worth value, and if it, I could see them something worth value that they probably won't see in the playoffs, like to the Eastern Conference team. I don't see it being to a Western Conference team, such as Nashville or the Kings or any of them.
Well, that's the question. I mean, if you're trading James Neal back to Pittsburgh has to give you something for now and maybe for the future.
Yeah.
They're not giving you Jake Gensel. They're not giving you Connie Sherry. So what are you realistically getting? You're not getting Phil Kessel. You're not getting Malkin. You're not getting Crosby. So there you're just taking the top 5 guys off of Pittsburgh. What's left?
Right. It's got to be, picks, prospects, and future considerations.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Which, is that a good enough return for James Neal? I guess it depends on the package. I like the fact that we're talking about trading Neal over Perron because I think Perron's a much more important player to this team. I know Neal's kind of the sexy pick right now because he keeps putting up goals, but...
Well, I'd rather keep Perron personally.
Yeah, Perron.
Because
Perron's the better player.
Neal's sexy, and Neal can get more flashy, flashes in the pan players. There's guys that are out there that can be, can come over here. I mean, the question is if you trade Neal while we're doing so well and don't get anything back that makes immediate impact, you lose the fan base at that point. I mean, not completely, but you lose, the fan base is like, hey, we're doing so well. Why did you just shake this up for something that's a potential?
Right.
And I think if you're talking about, maybe Neal for like an Evander Kane, that's what I'm saying. I know he's a rental. You're going to have to sign him. Eventually, you're going to have to sign somebody to a big deal. And I don't know if necessarily it's going to be on the outside or it's going to be on the inside. So if it's on the outside, I really like Evander Kane. I like the way he plays. And as of the free agents for next year that are not named John Tavares, I mean, I think he's the best option other than James Neal. So if you think James Neal's better, just keep him and sign him. Sign him to 6-7 years, sign him to the Marchessault contract, and see how many years he's got left. He's about to be, I think, 30. So, I mean, James Neal makes sense. If you think he's part of the future, keep him. If not, I think this is the year, because he's going to be a free agent. This is the time to get something for him. And I think you need to get something that's built for now and built for the future. And, if there's anybody that can do that, it's going to be McPhee. So, well, let's move on to the gridiron since we talked hockey for a long time. So, let's switch gears. And I think they played some games on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
It was like one game.
Just the one?
Pretty much.
Well, I know the second game wasn't really a game. I can tell you that. So let's start.
What was for about 5 minutes?
Let's start with the early game, and we'll get all of our cheering out of the way so we can concentrate. So Spike and I are happy. So little fist pumps and knuckle busters, and
it was never in doubt.
Really? Oh, this I gotta hear. Because I can tell you for a fact, my legs were shaking. I didn't want anybody talking to me when we were going to the fourth down by 10. I felt like Seattle all over again. Like, we're going to come back from 10 down, no problem. But it got weird, especially after the Dion Lewis double pass fumble. I'm like, oh, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah, that was a sticky situation.
I thought that was the proverbial nail.
No, I actually knew the Patriots were never out of it. I'll tell you exactly the moment. End of the first half. Jacksonville gets the ball back up. I don't even remember the score at that point.
It was like 10-3 or something.
Yeah, 10-3, 13-3, whatever it was. They were up. They had the ball back. They had just taken it from the kickoff. 55 seconds, 3 times out, they take a knee to end the half.
14-10, you're right.
Yeah, 14-10.
Yeah.
You cannot ever be satisfied with a lead on the Patriots. Ever.
No.
Ever. You can't simply say, this is good enough, and we're going to play the second half. You have to at least go for a field goal there, because I know we hate playing the what-if game, But if Jacksonville's able to even put up a field goal at that point, when New England scores late in the game, they're only up 1, they're not up 4. Right. And that makes Jacksonville's last drive much different, because then a field goal wins it for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you never know what they could have done at that point, but you can't know that until you try. I wonder if in the back of Marone's mind, he remembers the pick sixes that Blake did throw this year and previous parts in his career.
It's possible. Then, you
run the ball, throw the screen passes.
You run it on first and second down.
Try and move the chains and
high percentage plays.
Yeah.
And if you've got to take a knee at that point or let the clock run out, I agree with you.
Yeah, no,
at least take a shot or two to try and put some points up.
Exactly. If I were a Jacksonville fan, I would be screaming for heads to be rolling after that game. For as good of a season as they had, and they outshone everybody's expectations because nobody had them going this far this year. I cannot believe that coaching staff is getting off scot-free after making such a monumentally stupid mistake.
Looking at that, though, with the fact that this game was so close and the fact that they've been trailing for the last take out the Tennessee game, but 2 out of the last 3 games they've been trailing, in the playoffs. Is there any kind of bells and whistles or alarms at this point? I mean, obviously, that even in the first 3 Super Bowls, turn of the century, they played competitive, kept the lead, stayed close. The first one we obviously know, the Pats-Rams game, that was an upset. But the other 2 were, everybody talks about the dominance, but they only won those 3 Super Bowls by 9 total points.
Yeah.
But they always kind of felt like they were in control of the second 2 of those 3. You look at obviously the 2 they lost, they never really felt like they were in control. They felt like Welker catches that ball, it's over. Manningham doesn't catch that ball, it's over. Tyree doesn't, glue the one to his head, it's over. But you had those inklings. I'm starting to see, the more of the dominance that we talk about kind of being less and less in these games, and it's almost like at some point the clock's going to run out. And I feel like it's starting to happen more and more where I'm starting to worry more and more. Like I used to watch the game like you did. They're going to come back, they're going to come back, they're going to come back. I didn't feel that in the Super Bowl. I didn't feel that in the Jaguars game. I'm starting to feel that less and less earlier and earlier in the game. I know you never count out Tom, but it's like, I don't know. Ease my frustrations.
Well, obviously this would be a much, how do I want to say this? I don't even know. It would be nice for the Patriots to get out to like a 35-7 lead at halftime. Sure, obviously,
that's everybody.
Yeah, I mean that's something we've always wanted. But this is a team that I don't want to say they've never really done that because they have the ability to do that on certain teams. But in these big playoff games where they're going to be competitive, they're just not always about outskilling the other guy and stomping on their throat. Sometimes it's just about the fact that they're just better prepared, better coached, better schemed.
They know how to use all 4 quarters, basically, in your opinion?
Yeah, they can do everything better than everybody else, and they can use halftime adjustments better than anybody else.
I don't disagree with that, but what I'm saying is that, I felt, even in their dominant years, or any of their years, even in the years they didn't win the Super Bowl, it was like they never really had these 14-point deficits as frequently as they do, now. I mean, Seattle's really where it started. They were down 10. Brady let them back. They were down to 28-3. We all know what happened there. They're down 14-0 in Jacksonville at home. We know what happened on Sunday. It just seems this seems to be the new trend, and I don't like that.
Yeah, no, I think it was
the being ahead 14-10 or being ahead, 14-6, being ahead 21-14. I feel more comfortable when they're still playing close games, but they're on the other side of those games. I don't like this whole
coming from behind.
Yeah, this whole coming from behind thing. Eventually, Cinderella, the clock strikes midnight on that kind of shit.
Right. No, I think the prevailing thought, at least what I have seen, maybe I'm completely off base in this, but as a team, as a general manager, Bill Belichick knows he only has X number of years left with Tom Brady. So I think that they have been focusing more on skill positions and weapons for him on offense rather than giving him the, top 1, top 2 type defense that they had back in the day when they beat the Rams and the Eagles and the Panthers. So maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I think that the mindset of the front office has changed to the point of, not building the strong defense with Tom Brady and let Tom be Tom. It's give Tom Brady as many weapons as possible, and we'll let the defense figure the rest of the shit out themselves.
Right, I can see what you're saying in that point, but I mean, eventually there's going to be a lead that is not able to be caught by Tom Brady, no matter how many weapons you get him. That was always the big knock, or that was always the big debate that I used to have with people was, Tom didn't win those, that was a good team, and I'm like, yeah, they had a great defense, but can you name me the leading receiver or rusher on any of those first 3 Super Bowls? And people, yeah. Exactly. Everybody remembers Welker and Moss. Well, they didn't win any Super Bowls with Welker and Moss. So I can see where your mindset is saying that they're working on building him weapons, and you're right. I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, you got Cooks, you got Gronk, you got Amendola, you got Edelman, you got the stable of running backs, etc. You got even all the way down to Dwayne Allen. I mean, the guy doesn't catch much, but he's still there. He's still a threat.
He's a difference maker in the game, yeah.
I mean, in Indianapolis, yes. But I think he has, 4 catches this year? 1 touchdown?
That sounds about right, yeah.
I was so excited when they traded for him. I was like, man, you pair him with Gronk, that's going to be the most deadly combination, like almost as deadly as Hernandez and Gronk. And he's just not existent. I don't know. Call me crazy. I missed that one hardcore.
I mean, I'm just laughing about the fact that you used deadly combination and Aaron Hernandez in the same sentence, completely unironically.
And I didn't plan that at all. Lethal? No, that's not a good one either. Shotgun offense? No.
You're not helping yourself.
Oh,
You're shooting yourself in the foot.
The run and shoot? No, that's not good either. All right, I give up. Rest in pieces. Yeah, I don't know. I missed that one. I thought he would be a fortuitous combination. Let's use that word. Anyways, let's move on. I don't know. To me, it just seems like, I don't know. It's starting to strike midnight, and I hate to start being a realist, or I hate to start thinking like all these other people. And I don't think there's a rift anywhere, but I think Tom Brady showed some signs of mortality in the last probably couple of weeks, in my opinion.
I think you're being very realistic with that.
Am I being hard on him?
I don't think you're being hard on him. I think you're being realistic, and I think it's coming time to that point where he's looking to the future a little, but not whereas people are thinking, well, he's, 41 now?
He's 40. I think he'll be 41 in the offseason. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I still see he has about 2-3 good years left in him, and if they keep weapons around him, I mean, I think it'll still be a deadly combination. But I mean, I could see that bell starting to ring. And
do you remember when they let go of Welker and they signed Amendola that 5-year, $42 million, and everybody was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
You let go of one of the most prolific receivers of the last 5 years to sign Mr. Glass. I'd say that pretty much worked out so far. I don't know what are your thoughts on that?
I don't see that as a fail at all. So,
yeah, Amendola has become Mr. Playoffs for them, especially in the last couple of years, especially this year with Edelman out.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. And speaking of out, I haven't seen any reports on Gronk, but what were your thoughts on that hit? I mean, as an objective, unbiased.
Well, in that case, you're clearly not asking me because I can't answer that unbiasedly.
Anthony, but I'm asking you to take your Pat's hat off for a second. You can still have the same opinion. I'm just saying take your Pat's hat off for a second.
I would say it was kind of a cheap hit, and it didn't really get out of hand, but it was unnecessary.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're Doug Marrone and I'm telling you that I can take their best weapon out of this game for 15 yards.
Oh, I would try. I'd be stupid not to. I mean,
yeah, it was just like earlier in the season when Jacksonville fought, or was it Jalen Ramsey fought AJ Green in the middle of the field? You remember that?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, why is Jalen getting thrown out of the game? He's like, well, if I told you I would take out their greatest receiver for your, one of your many great cornerbacks, would you take that deal?
Oh, hell yeah. In a heartbeat.
It seems like a trend for Jacksonville. I don't know if that's going to be their MO, but they love to talk, don't they, huh?
Oh, yeah.
They love to talk shit.
They're like little ankle biters. Yep.
I know, dude. They couldn't stop anything. I mean, they were down. They were losing the game. They were winning the game. They were, getting 30-yard bombs, but they put a nice hit on the guy out of bounds, and they just wanted to talk shit. Yeah. It's like it was undisciplined football, and that's like like Spike said. When you don't make the right decisions, you play undisciplined. A team like Tom Brady and the Patriots come back and beat you.
Yeah.
So okay, go ahead. Now that your hat's off.
Yeah. No, I thought it was dirty. I didn't think that it was a good hit according to the current rules. Now, the part of the problem is that the area that a defender can hit is shrinking, and it seems to be shrinking year by year by year by year by year. So it becomes more and more difficult. So I thought it was a dirty hit. I thought it was an illegal hit. I'm glad that they threw the flag on it. As much as I want to believe that it was malicious, I almost don't think it was, because I think it was just an unfortunate kind of weird, the two of them going down at the same time and kind of hitting. Like, the Jacksonville player has to know to put his arms out, or try to make.
He led with the crown, and the counter argument to that is that Gronkowski ducked. But I mean, I don't know. Taking my hat off, like I said, taking the Patriots hat off, putting the hat on. I thought it was a fine hit. I didn't have a problem with the hit. Unfortunately, Gronk got a concussion. We'll see how that plays out in the next 2 weeks. I had no issue with the hit. I had more of an issue with that being called than the pass interference call on Brandon Cooks. And I think that was the same drive when they basically ran Cooks out of bounds.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was pass interference, whereas everybody on social media thought
it was holding.
No, they just thought it was the refs trying to get the Pats back in the game. I thought that was clear and intentional, running the guy off of the route into the out of bounds area, so that he obviously couldn't be the first guy to touch the ball. I thought it was a terrible move by Ramsey, and I thought it was a good call by the officials. But it seems nowadays during a Patriots game I can't go on social media because it's all it is the refs paid him off and the refs are letting the Pats back in. It's starting to get a bit absurd, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's tough to watch. I mean, most of my social media feed are people that I know from the Boston area, so they're all pro-Patriot. But if you go on something like Reddit or something that is, filled with others, then it can be, painful to
read through. And
yeah, it's just it's. You have to turn off your brain if you're going to go into some of those threads, because just the amount of sheer ignorance from some of these people. It's like, we know how much Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell do not get along, and yet people are like, oh, Roger Goodell is trying to get the Patriots back to the Super Bowl. Like, why?
Yeah,
why? That's
he's not doing
right.
It.
That's only going to hurt ratings. On what planet does this conspiracy theory work? So.
In their mind, I don't know what they're thinking or smoking. So,
I mean, if they're going to try to play the as an apology for Deflategate, we'll give you a Super Bowl title. Well, they already got that one, so I don't know what this would be in people's minds. New England's moving on. Jacksonville's got to pick up the pieces. Let's look at their offseason here after we discuss the Philly game. Let's move into the Philly-Minnesota game. If you want to call it a game, that was a
game for about 5 minutes.
I mean, Minnesota got up 7-0, and then I think they got on the bus and went home. I first want to talk about the game. We'll get to the fans because I'd like to have a conversation about that. That was some atrociousness. It's not a word, but I'm going to use it. Nick Foles, man. Nick Foles keeps proving Vegas wrong. I mean, once again, last week, Vegas said, this line would have been 7 with Carson Wentz, or this line would have been 6 with Carson Wentz in the lineup, and now you're telling me he's worth that many points? I don't believe it. So Nick Foles proved him wrong again, and although my prediction of Jay Ajayi controlling the game didn't really come true, he and LeGarrette Blount combined for over 100 yards and helped kind of ease the pressure off of Nick Foles.
I think Foles did an excellent job of controlling this game.
I'd like to toot my own horn. You both said Keenan would have the better game. I listened to the podcast.
Yes, I did say that.
I did say Foles would have the better game.
By far, Foles managed the game outrageously well, so. And that's what I thought it would come down to, and definitely came down to that as well as a few other stuff, so.
What?
Yeah.
Like the Minnesota Vikings defense not showing up pretty much.
I think, honestly, they spent the whole week talking about that Minnesota Miracle, and they never really turned the page.
They're all hyped up from that still, and
Yeah, they were so living in the past, they forgot to realize that they still had a game or two left to play. And Minnesota got the first points in the game. That was also the last time they scored, but they did get the first points of the game. They took that opening drive right down for a touchdown, like Philadelphia's the Philadelphia's defense wasn't even there.
yeah.
They were able to go down and put up that touchdown with relative ease.
And we're like, oh, this might be a game.
Yeah, and then next thing you know, it's just Philadelphia wakes up,
Yeah.
and
It was night for Minnesota.
that was it.
I got to ask you, in all honesty, I know you guys both picked the Vikings. I know you picked Philly. You picked Philly, right?
I like the under, though, so I was wrong with that.
Was a part of you rooting for Minnesota to get that home game? Or home game?
I didn't really care.
Part of me was kind of rooting for it, even though it would have been a tougher task for New England to beat them. But I was kind of, it's never happened before. Teams really haven't, this was the farthest that any team had got to potentially hosting a home game. So I was kind of rooting for it because most time when they have the home game, teams aren't very good.
Yeah, they're on like a slump here or not even existent.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was kind of rooting for that, but I still bet Philly, and I cashed that one with pretty much ease. Let's talk about the fans, though. I don't know. I'm sure everybody's seen this by now, unless you've been living under a rock. But the fans in Philly were pretty brutal, and that's a nice way of putting it.
Even before the game even started,
from what I saw, videos they were throwing full beers, like unopened beers, at Vikings fans and pelting them wherever they hit them. They threw things at the Vikings team bus after the game. I saw the video of that.
Yeah, I saw that one. I didn't see the one before the game, but...
And another second, unrelated instance to the first, incident of a Philly fan punching a horse. Second one in 2 weeks.
nah.
Now, I hate to generalize a fan base or a group of people, but this isn't the first time they've been accused of being complete numbskulls.
I would expect something out of this, like out of Detroit or something, but
well, no, I expected out of Philly too. But it's like, at what point do you I know the players on the field, you play for fans and you play for a team and you play for a city, but what makes you want to play for a crop of people that scummy? What does that do for pride? I understand football and sports is, the ultimate, camaraderie, thing, but not in that way. I don't personally, and a friend told me, he's a Raiders fan. He told me that if I ever went into Raiders Stadium in Oakland with a Patriots jersey on, I deserve anything I get. And what the fuck are you talking about?
yeah.
I'm like, why do we live in a society where if I walk into a public, domain, and, if I'm sitting there going, yeah, Tom Brady, y'all can suck my nut. Yeah, okay, I'm probably going to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But if I sit there just chilling, watching a game, and when New England scores, I clap or whatever, I deserve everything I get. Are you fucking serious? What mindset is that? That's horrid. And it looks like the Philly fans took it to the nth power.
That's an understatement in my mind. I think they ran away with... I
know the NFL would never do it because it would take this out of their pocket, and I'm using the Manziel money sign. But fucking take their allotment of tickets. Fuck you guys. You're not coming to Minnesota with that attitude.
I'm wondering if Minnesota even wants Philadelphia there. I know that they don't have the ability, like you said, they would lose a lot of money if they did it, but the people, the business owners of Minnesota can't be excited about Philadelphia fans coming over, right?
Right.
This is a city where their most beloved citizen is a make-believe boxer.
Fair enough.
These are not rational people when it comes to their sports town, and it's just, I don't know. I think it would be interesting if the NFL even tried to take away that allotment of tickets. I mean, even if they just said,
I'm sure they could give them to corporate sponsors or sell them.
Oh yeah, I mean they would find buyers. I'm sure there would still be some people from Philly that would sneak in.
You gotta set. This shit can't fly. And the same. That's what scares me about. I mean, we won't have. I don't think we'll have that problem in Vegas when the Raiders come. But like, if you're telling me that if I walk into a Raiders game in Oakland and I deserve what I get, I mean that you're speaking for the fan base when you say that. I deserve what I get. I mean, I deserve to buy a ticket, watch a game in peace, and go back to my car and not, have to worry about my life.
Logging in, yeah.
Except for the fact that I'm still in Oakland, but I mean that's a different story. But I read an article today actually. I'm kind of hoping they do this and they film it because this would be fantastic. I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a group of Uber drivers in Minnesota setting up a Facebook group, and they're going to film themselves picking up Eagles passengers in Minnesota on Super Bowl Sunday and taking them anywhere but the stadium. I really hope that they film this.
That'd be hilarious.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if now that it's public it's going to fall apart and fizzle, but if this really happens, I hope there's just a collection, like a YouTube video of just all of these videos where like they're dropping them off at like the God knows where, one of the Great Lakes or something. Drop them off in Chicago or something. Like, we can't be this far away from the stadium. No, we're almost there, bud. We're almost there.
They have a great railroad museum there.
Bemidji, Minnesota. Just drop them off anywhere but the stadium. I hope that comes to fruition. So
take them to a AHL hockey game.
If any of those Uber drivers are listening, I really hope you guys go through with that. So
we're at the arena.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about the two teams that aren't obviously continuing. Minnesota and Jacksonville have quarterback issues. Isn't the right word because they've got quarterbacks that can play ball. I guess financially, they don't really have anything set in stone. Do you think one, two, or none of those two quarterbacks between Keenum and Bortles are going to be starting for those teams next year?
Yeah, this is sort of a head scratcher here.
I'm going to say one of them is, and that'll be Bortles with Jacksonville.
Fuck, you stole my answer.
Sorry, you're allowed to agree with him. You know his name?
No.
It's Elvis. And the reason why I think that is, I think Minnesota's going to
And they're going to go back to Bradford?
Drop Keenum back and switch over to Bradford or Bridgewater.
I mean, this will be the third year they do it. The guy can't stay healthy. How many times is this guy going to get a chance?
Too many.
I mean, literally.
As a Lions fan, I would like to see Keenum not start anymore. But
so then what do you do with Bridgewater? I mean, Bridgewater's ready to go, right? I mean, Bridgewater played better than Bradford did.
Yeah.
When Bradford was in there, yeah, great. But, I mean, what good's having a guy for $18 million for 4 games? I'm not defending or petitioning for Keenum to stay. I'm just looking at it. It's like, how many times is Sam Bradford going to get an opportunity to play? I mean, he can't fucking play a whole year.
It would make sense if they got rid of one of the 3 and kept one as backup, maybe, but even then, that doesn't make really much sense.
Well, Case wants to get paid. He's going to try to cash in on this. And if it's not with the Vikings,
it'll be somewhere else.
Yeah.
I could see it being like Denver or something.
Could you see it being Jacksonville?
Oh.
That'd be a freaky situation.
Yeah.
And I could see Jacksonville doing that, too, though.
That's the thing. I mean, you talk about
Jacksonville or like Miami.
I like Case Keenum's chances hitting in the open market more than I like Blake Bortles' chances.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, what do you got open right now? Denver, Arizona.
Cleveland always.
Cleveland's always open.
Arizona is. I'd say Raiders might be buyers at this time for a quarterback.
Now let me ask you a question. Blake Bortles out, Case Keenum in. You look at that division. Do they have the best 4 quarterbacks? Even if even if you kept Blake Bortles in, take a look at that division. Do they have the best 4 quarterbacks of any division? You got Mariota, Luck, Deshaun Watson, and Blake Bortles. Sounds crazy to think off the top of your head. You're like, whoa, no fucking way. But
I would say if not, they're second.
I mean, who's first?
I mean, maybe the case for like the NFC North. Trubisky, you got Rodgers.
You led with
Trubisky.
Credibility shot. You led.
Wow.
You led with Trubisky.
You got Moneybag Stafford. And
Money is all Matt Stafford's good at, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
You and I have had that conversation before.
I don't like it either. Yeah.
I don't know. I looked at it this morning. I'm like, man, that's a good young crop of talent. If Andrew Luck can come back healthy, I mean, that's a pretty good
absolutely.
crop of. That's a good division for quarterbacks. It would all depend on who went to. It would all depend on who went to Arizona, but I was going to say the NFC West would probably be either the
Russell
one
Wilson
above them or close.
That's exactly what I was about to say. I for some reason I blanked on the LA Rams being in the NFC West, and I was like, there's a fourth team in that division. I can't remember who it is.
They're actually in the West, and it makes sense that they're in the West.
Yes.
And they actually won.
Yeah.
The division.
I don't know why I forgot. I never think about the Rams, because who fucking thinks about the Rams?
Until this year, yeah.
Well, especially since they moved to LA, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Nobody gives a shit about LA football, especially not people in LA.
No.
Speaking of it, the Chargers buyers for quarterbacks at this point? Phillip Rivers has got to be at the end.
I don't know, man. He's a weird story.
I see them doing a 4th round draft.
He's Eli's age, obviously, because they came in the same draft, so he's right around there. I mean, I don't know. I think Eli and him are kind of their careers are so parallel. Like, they probably should have been taken care of. Like, probably should have been replaced by now. But it's like they still show these flashes of brilliance where you're like, that's why he's in the game. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. Everybody thinks Eli and Rivers are Hall of Famers. I don't buy it.
All right.
I don't buy it either.
Eli I can kind of see just because of the 2 Super Bowl wins, but Rivers has never even been there.
No.
Why do you keep holding on to a guy that's never gotten you to a Super Bowl?
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. This Hall of Fame notion, I hear it from a lot of people. I'm like, I don't see it. But you're right. I mean, at what point? I mean, would this be the year? Of course, this is the year you would want to draft a quarterback, and they're probably drafted in the late teens, early 20s.
Yeah,
or they're drafting in the late teens. So
I could see them even doing like a 3rd, 4th round quarterback pickup and building him up for 1 year and going with that.
You wonder if they have buyer's remorse on Drew Brees 10 years ago or 15 years ago, however long that was.
I'm sure they have a little.
Whoops. So we talked about all the 4 teams that are in it. Let's. Do we want to preview the Super Bowl now, or do we want to tease them a little bit and wait until we got a couple podcasts before the Super Bowl actually hits? So.
Yeah.
We could talk about it a little.
What are your early leans? Obviously, let's look at the numbers. We have it opened up at 6.
It was projected to open up at 7, but it opened up at 5.5.
William Hill had it that if it came, they opened up at 7.
But it opened up at
matchup.
5 on William Hill, actually.
That's got to be a testament to the blowout, right?
I would have to say so, yes. Consensus is saying 5 right now. Most places 5 or 5.5, yeah. Open up.
Oh, that felt good.
On NFL Fred at 6.
So professional.
Yeah, you like that one?
Yeah, that was nice.
Okay. I'm going to edit that part out, and you guys are going to be like, so professional. I'm like, what are you talking about?
My first thought is taking New England while it's low right now.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, William Hill had them opening up at 6. Or, excuse me, 7. So now that they've put it at 5, are they just overvaluing to get you to bet Philly because of the blowout? I still like New England. I mean, you had it at 7. You've moved it to 5.
I still like New England at that price, for sure.
Total's 48. Consensus across the board. No thank you. What do you think about the 5?
Yeah, the 5 is fine. It's only going to get worse depending on Gronkowski, and all signs are pointing that he's going to be able to play. So,
and you should be pretty close to 100%, if not 100% come game time.
Right. So as soon as they announce that he's coming back, that's going up to 5.5, 6. Yes, and then it's just
Vegas Insider has the injury report. And it has probable quarterback Nick Foles out, Philadelphia quarterback Carson Wentz. And then it says New England tight end Rob Gronkowski, and it has a picture of a caveman scratching his head going,
question mark.
Yeah, somebody pointed out that during the concussion protocol, if a doctor asked Rob Gronkowski what 2 + 2 was, if he said 4, we knew there was a problem.
I thought the concussion protocol for Rob Gronkowski is what number comes after 68. If he gets that one right, he's good to go. Or if he could say Yo Soy Fiesta again.
Well, I mean,
You're a fat fan.
the easy thing to look at right now is that the Patriots are 5-1 in the Super Bowl when they play against teams with an animal mascot. So that's really the only trend that matters in this game.
Another trend that me and Aaron both saw earlier today.
Yeah, but the Bears were 85.
No, with the last 13.
12 of the last 13
Yeah, 12
Super Bowl
of the
winners
last-
wore white jerseys, and the Pats are wearing white jerseys.
There we go.
What team was that? What was Green Bay?
Green Bay won in green, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got one for you, and I know you'll appreciate this.
All right.
Because the Empire State Building was lit up on one side, red and blue for the Pats, and on the other side, green and white for the Eagles.
Oh.
How salty are you if you live in New York and you're a Giants or Jets fan at that point? Your most iconic building, or one of, is lit up in probably two of your biggest rivals.
That's,
Oh, it has the same color as the Jets, though.
Yeah, but let's be real. Let's be real. The Jets were not being celebrated. And
No.
it actually has the same colors as the Giants, too, the blue and red.
that brings up another question. If you're a Giants fan, who do you root for in this game?
New England.
It's got to be New England, right?
It's got to be New England.
Because they're the ones that have beaten Brady.
You've always got the trump card on New England.
Right, and you want to be the only team that's been able to do that. Plus, with the hatred of Philadelphia, it makes sense. But, I mean, it's still like, how does a New Yorker bring themselves to root for a Boston team?
I think you root for a power outage at that point. Oh, wait, we've had that before, too.
Yeah.
The storylines in this game, you know, whether they're makeshift or easy, it's obviously an East Coast battle, which we knew it was going to be nothing over the West unless Minnesota did something. The Boston versus Philly is not obviously the Boston versus New York or the Philly versus New York. But do you feel like there's some sort of rivalry there between those two cities?
Only according to Bill Burr.
What about LeGarrette Blount? He's coming back, and now he's with Philly. That guy just makes the Super Bowl every year. I mean, what does he do? He signs one-year contracts and wins rings. Must be nice, huh?
Yeah, him and Chris Long. Chris Long's in Philly now, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, seeing the two of them back, I mean, that kind of brings a smile to my cold, dead heart. But, I mean, Blunt's a hell of a player. Always has been. You know, even when he was in, Oregon, he punched the Boise State player back in college.
I think that was Shea McClellan that he punched, wasn't it?
Was it? It might have been.
I have to look at that.
Yeah, look that up. Because I remember, I actually remembered when it happened because I was dating a girl at the time who had family in Boise, and Boise State people are fucking nuts. I remember that it happened when the Patriots picked up Blunt. I forgot that it was him until maybe a season or two ago.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't McClellan.
Okay.
It was just another white guy from Idaho. But I thought maybe it was. It would have made sense. You know, Shea McClellan went to Boise State. LeGarrette Blount punches things all the time.
Yeah, last 10 Super Bowls against the spread, the favorites only covered twice.
Wow.
Underdogs.
Last year was one of them, right?
Last year was one of them. And the other favorite was Green Bay in Super Bowl 45.
What was New England against Seattle?
Seattle was the favorite.
No,
1 point.
I thought. Oh, you're right. I thought it closed at New England being 1 point favorites, but
They might have, yeah. I think
that Super Bowl, if I remember
opening
correctly,
lines.
danced around the pick'em line.
Yeah.
Am I reading that right?
I think you're right.
Opening lines.
Oh, opening.
Oh, just the opener?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 6 out of the last 10 have been over in the total. This one's at 47.5, 48.
48, yeah, consensus.
Actually, I'm leaning towards the under in this.
That's probably a safe bet.
I'd probably wait for them to release Gronk's playing and then have that total shoot up a point or two and then take the under, but I'd probably lay on New England right now while I can.
I can tell you the bet I am 100% taking, and I think you guys know what it is.
Heads.
Money line.
Oh.
I will probably only sit back and collect my free money. So I had the Patriots at 105. We talked about that on the last podcast. The Eagles are at plus 190.
Wow.
I've already placed it in. So
Okay,
I'm either going to win $900 if the Eagles win,
or $50.
or $50 if the Patriots win.
I actually thought you were going to wait a little and see if that money line fluxed up a little.
I can't imagine that's going to go up. I think the public loves Philly.
Oh,
I think the public has seen Philly as an underdog win 2 straight-up games and said, screw it.
what's a third? Yeah.
We're jumping on that wagon. And that's why I think I don't want to give too much without saying I think New England's a good bet in this with the 5 points, especially since William Hill already leaked that they would have been a 7-point favorite in the possible matchup.
Yeah.
I forget the point I was going to make.
You were chomping at the bit.
I know.
He keeps going up to the microphone this.
I know what it was.
Like,
yeah.
I'm like, all right, go ahead. He's like, duh.
We got the Eagles this week, yeah.
I like football. No, I remember the point now.
Turtles.
No, no, because we had talked about
College football partners.
oh God.
What was that?
We had talked about taking New England at plus 105 to win the Super Bowl before the AFC Championship game. You said plus 105, plus 110, wherever you could get it. I went Saturday night to Red Rock Station. It was minus 130 before the championship game even got to play.
Jeez.
I think everybody listened to our podcast.
They must have.
Yeah.
They're clearly not doing it on YouTube because it only had about 7 views. But
Well, you just posted that today.
oh, is that? Oh, well, there
I
you
just
go.
posted that today because we only
was
had
only on
it.
12
I couldn't
ounce.
make I didn't have the iMovie in Florida, so the iMovie's on this computer over here in the studio.
They must
so
have been listening on 12-ounce sports
They had
radio.
it?
Oh yeah.
that must have been what it was. Yeah.
Well, yeah, minus 130 before the conference championship
Jeez.
game had been played.
And they
So-
almost lost that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what we thought, but I mean, they almost lost that. If you look at it, they were down by 10 with 10 minutes to play. So
Yeah,
that would not have been a good feeling if they had lost that game. trust me.
I came very
me.
close to predicting that score to a T. I said 27-21. Patriots win.
Yeah, you did.
3-1.
You did even better predicting the Philadelphia Minnesota game. So shut
Oh
up.
yeah. Hey, at
20.
least I was on the right side of that, except for the total.
20-17.
Hey.
I don't think anybody predicted that blowout. So
No.
fair.
No, I mean, I did get the weekend correct. I said one game was going to be an absolute blowout, and the other one was going to come down to about the last play. I was
The opposite teams.
right. It was the wrong games, but at least I got the system right.
Super Bowl blowout or close game?
You guys should start charging for your picks. Oh my god!
As I say, take it to the window and light it on fire.
Question I have, and I know that we're never
After the game.
we're never going to know. We may find out because there's 2 weeks of media coverage. Is what would this line be in your opinion if Wentz was playing?
I'd say probably about the same. I would say probably closer to 4.5 though.
Really? I mean, Vegas has been selling us for 2 weeks now that Wentz is worth anywhere from 6 to 10 points.
I'm not buying that. I think Foles is better than what they're thinking, and
I don't disagree with that assessment, but I'm saying that's what Vegas has told us. Vegas basically said against Atlanta, Philly would be a 7-point favorite. Against Minnesota, they would have been a 4-point favorite. So you're telling me
8 point.
Carson Wentz was a 7-point swing against one team and a 10-point swing against another team.
No, I think Foles is better.
You don't
than
think this
what
line would have been a pick 'em or like two and a
No.
half? I think this line would have been 2.5.
Yeah, I was going to say 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Still New England favored, but
Yeah,
I can't imagine any scenario unless it's a Tom Brady injury prior to the game where the
Well, he's still injured,
Philadelphia. Oh yeah, well theoretically.
Well, that's why I made that bet because William Hill basically told me that there's no scenario unless Carson Wentz's knee somehow magically repaired itself that they were going to be a dog in this game, that the Patriots were going to be a dog in this game. So that was what made it such a I don't want to say a lock, but pretty much a lock. I mean, Jacksonville gave their best effort, but oh man, I tell you what, you ask the producer Des, my whole body was shaking. I'm biting my nails. I'm like, what is going on? I mean, as much as I was like dying inside a little bit, I mean, like that's the part of me, the problem. Like, I was rooting for Blake. I'm like, do good, stop doing good.
Enough. What's wrong with
Okay, you've done your part. Now let's let Tom come all the way back and get his 6th ring. You'll have your chance
Eventually.
Yeah. So, well, let's move on from Super Bowl. We'll have a couple more podcasts to talk about it. We'll give our picks, later when it gets closer to the game. Let's talk about some hirings in the NFL, and it's obviously hard to judge hirings immediately, but initial thoughts. I know where I'm going with this one, but the Titans hiring Mike Vrabel after letting go of Mike, not McCarthy, but Mularkey. Matt Mularkey? Mike Mularkey?
It's one of them, yeah.
It's a bunch of malarkey, that's all I know. Bazinga. It always strikes me as weird as when a coach makes the playoffs and doesn't get retained. So what are your initial thoughts on Mularkey being released and Vrabel being hired?
I don't really know what to make about that. I think Mularkey was a good fit for Tennessee. I mean, he wasn't producing like outstanding numbers or anything, but he was getting the job done to make the playoffs. And I don't know.
This wasn't a situation where his contract expired and they decided not to bring him back.
Yeah,
and they fired him.
I know.
But Mike Vrabel obviously comes from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. He spent the last few years in Houston as a defensive coordinator and defensive coach. Do you see him kind of bringing the Belichick way, or at least attempting to? Because we've seen some coaches, it doesn't really work.
Right. He's certainly going to try, but Belichick can bring the Belichick way. Everybody else can attempt it. Whether or not other people will buy it is the question. Because the problem is, Belichick's a gruff, mean guy, theoretically. I mean, his players will say he's hilarious and he's gregarious and he's this, that, and the other thing.
He's a comedian.
Yeah, but I mean, when you're up there and you're trying to be like Belichick, but you don't have the resume of Belichick, you're not going to just automatically get that respect just because you played under the guy,
right? Or
because Belichick taught you how to be a coach. So hopefully, Vrabel's able to, bring his own personality to Tennessee, get them to buy into the system early, and then be able to build the team from there. Because, I was upset. I think he's going to be a good coach in this league. I had hoped, that he would take the lateral move from Houston to New England once Matt Patricia jumped ship to take over as defensive coordinator there. But, I wish him well in Tennessee. I hope he does well. I hope the Titans like him. And, I hope that he can actually find success there, because as we've seen, a lot of former New England players that have turned into coaches and former New England staff members that have turned into coaches haven't had success.
I don't know of any that have. I mean, McDaniels had that 1 year of success with TiVo and didn't really pan out in Denver. Romeo Crennel didn't work. Charlie Weiss didn't work. I'm trying to think of a staffer. Mangini didn't work.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien, you could argue, has been doing well, and he'll only get better once Deshaun Watson gets healthy and gets experience.
Yeah, what he did in Penn State was good, and you're right, he's trending upwards, I guess. Like you said, he's got to see what, Deshaun's going to do.
Right.
He definitely knows what he's got in Tom Savage, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious to see what the future holds for not Bill Belichick, but Steve Belichick. Currently, I think he's secondary coach for New England.
Secondary coach.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if he's going to be like his dad or if he's going to be the complete opposite, because he's got long hair, so that's already way outside the box for a Belichick.
He wears long hair and a polo, unlike short hair and a hoodie, right?
He's trying to be like the Ryan brothers or something.
Anthony and I had this conversation this morning, and it was kind of, we were out driving. He was picking me up from the airport. My thought, okay, so Tom and Bill win the Super Bowl this year. Tom decides to retire, which we know is not going to happen, but just in case it does, Tom decides to retire. At what point, how bad does Bill Belichick's teams have to get before Kraft fires him?
I don't know that Belichick ever gets fired. I think he'll go 2 or 3 years, and then he and Kraft will have the conversation where they mutually agree to part ways.
Okay, let's not sugarcoat it.
Yeah, but it's just...
You're saying 3 years.
Yeah, I would say 3 years... It would have to be 3 years of not just missing the playoffs because they've
Talk about 5-11 or
right.
6-10 or worse.
Yeah, if they hit that, then yeah, I could see that.
Wow, you guys are ruthless.
Yeah.
He said the same thing.
Well, see, part of the problem with Kraft, and not just Robert Kraft, but Jonathan especially, is that they are so monetarily driven that a losing record is going to drive down attendance. No attendance means you're not getting the parking, you're not getting the concessions, you're not getting the gate. And if that hurts them in the wallet, they're not going to put up with that.
Sure, no, I respect that. I said 5. You guys are mean.
Yeah. No, that's...
I think you're right. Honestly, I would... as far as getting mutually let go, I said 5 years. But as far as Bill Belichick in his right mind, seeing the writing on the wall, I would have said a season and a half. He wouldn't quit mid-season, but a season and a half, he'd say, this is my
final
swan
rock.
song, my last 6 games. I'd say season and a half without Brady.
Yeah, I could see that, especially if he doesn't have Brady and he's in the cellar of the division.
And you're right, he's not going to get fired. I think he and Kraft are going to say,
let's have a talk.
look, we had a good run. And you probably should have taken the Giants job back then. But, I don't know, just something we were just chatting about. I thought about that, I can't see Brady retiring after this year, but just somehow Giselle convinces him or something,
Apparently, she tried like hell to do it after last year.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Somehow she convinces him, hey, you've won 2 now in a row, you got 6, what else do you need to play for, Somehow she could convince him that the TB12 method's going to make him a billionaire or something.
We've got the Cleveland Browns first week of preseason.
What?
That would be like Belichick.
We're on to Cleveland.
Yeah, we're on to Cleveland.
Oh, it's a home game. Oh, we're on to back home.
Yeah. Oh, we're on the clock for the NFL draft.
Yeah. Who you guys picking first? I don't know. Check my snap face. Are we going to hear anything about, are they going to tote Donovan McNabb up here for 2 weeks and try to say that, his formula for beating Brady, even though he didn't do it? Because, I'm trying to look for storylines of this, because obviously we know it's a rematch from, 14 years ago? 13 years ago, whatever it is?
Something like that, yeah.
It was 04 Super Bowl, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the 04 Super Bowl.
It was the last of their first 3. I know that.
Yeah, it was Super Bowl 29. Or not
29? Wow.
No,
39?
Yeah, 39.
Okay.
You're just having trouble reading Roman numerals? Is that what it is?
No, actually, the one
It was
on here is
Super
wrong.
Bowl XXVII.
No, actually, the one on here is wrong. It says XXIV or XXIX.
That would be
Yeah, it's 39.
XXIX?
No, it's 29 then.
29.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. It's wrong, but
Is it?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Whatever you're looking at is incorrect.
Yeah, because they have XL is 40, and then they go,
it should be XLIX.
what the fuck? Is it 39? Is that what it is?
It
Yeah.
should be 39, but it says 29.
Yeah, you're right.
No, you wouldn't do
I am crazy, but I'm not.
You wouldn't do XLIX. That's 49.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be XXXIX.
Yeah.
Why can't we just use... Why do the Romans got to get this shit? Why can't we just use our own numbers?
Dude, Roman numerals drive me friggin' nuts because I do crossword puzzles like once or twice a day, and they always pop up, and I'm like, fuck, I took Latin in high school, but now I got to try to remember this shit.
C is 100. M is 1000.
Yeah. Do you know what D is?
That is...
D's nuts.
Ah, got him!
And what is D?
500.
500.
I didn't know that one.
D's nuts. All right, so a head scratcher to me is Pat Shurmur's hiring by the Giants. Maybe tell me I'm wrong, but I don't know. He's had a chance. To me, Minnesota's offense wasn't that good, in my opinion.
No, they
Already been a coach in Cleveland.
They overachieved with Case Keenum, so it made him look good. That's the bottom line. They wanted an offensive-minded coach for Eli.
You good with that one?
I'm good with that, too, yeah.
And I don't really have an opinion on Steve Wilkes of the Cardinals. I don't know much about him.
I think
Ron Rivera keeps pumping out defensive coordinators who keep getting jobs, so good for them.
Yeah, I think they're kind of
Another black guy in the league. So.
Looking for
satisfy the Rooney
future
rule.
quarterback, and yeah.
All right, well, this has been episode number 21. Happy 21st to us. For Spike, for Anthony, I am Aaron. Follow us on our social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. all Vegas Squares. The website's vegassquares.com, and we will see you next
Gmail.
time.